Hello, everybody. Welcome to A Cult of Misfits. I'm Matt Owens. If you've ever wondered why I call the podcast A Cult of Misfits, then stay tuned. I brought Nathan back. We talk about a lot of interesting subjects, including cults, why people join cults, why I named the podcast A Cult of Misfits. We talk about cult documentaries. It's a great conversation. We also recorded it on Easter Sunday, coincidentally, and so the conversation sort of naturally leaned towards Jesus. So we talked about Christ energy, we talked about Passion of the Christ, we talked about the concept of Jesus dying for our sins, we talked about the concept of Jesus having a personal relationship with us, we talk about the Nag Hammadi library and some of the ancient scriptures that were intentionally left out of the Bible. So if you're a fan of cults, or you're a fan of Jesus, then this is the one for you. Here we go.
Hi, Matt. Thanks
How's it
for
going?
pretty good. How about yourself?
Very good. Thank you for your flexibility. I'm having to go with the flow this afternoon too. So
Right? Go
yeah,
with the flow is the key.
exactly.
It's so
Everything would
funny.
go smoother if I just go with the freaking flow. So
Right?
how how was your road trip yesterday?
Oh, it was great. I love the windshield time just with me and yeah, just with
You
me and
just
the
you and the open
windshield and
road.
yep, and just it's honestly one of the best meditative type times I could possibly have. It's great.
Totally.
Yeah.
Do you have like a go-to road snack? When you're on a road trip, is there a
I
snack
don't
that you like have
really
to have with you?
I don't really no, I don't actually.
Well, I say that because I do.
Oh,
I
what's
like to
yours?
get those little combos, that have like the fake cheesy shit in the middle of it, and you get it at like the grocery store.
Oh yeah. Hey,
That's
but
like my go-to road trip snack. Every time I go on a road trip, that's the number one thing I buy.
you're talking about the cone style ones, right?
No, like
No.
the
Oh,
like the logs, like the little
oh, the
logs.
logs. Okay.
Yeah, and it's got like either pretzels or peanut butter
Ooh,
filling or that shitty cheese filling. That's where it's at
yeah.
for me.
Oh yeah. I love
how
both
often do
of
you
those.
how often do you go on those road trips?
Oh, very rarely. I haven't been on a road trip forever. That was
Oh,
my first
good.
time, honestly, in probably over 10 years, to be
Oh,
honest.
oh, oh, oh.
So,
Well then, yeah,
not
okay, great.
enough. Not enough.
Yeah. Do you feel
Jeez.
refreshed and revitalized after all the meditation on the road?
I do. It was an incredible experience. I had a whole emotional there's a whole story around my road trip too that was pretty incredible. Where I had some major shifts and things I was feeling through and going through, and as because I was listening to things that were helping me process some stuff, and it's kind of put me in my mind. I'm always contemplating and I was exploring where the contemplation's taken me. so,
Right, right.
so it was pretty great
Oh,
on
that's
every
good to
level.
hear. I've experienced similar things to that, and it's just it's special, right? To sort of have those experiences
Right.
and connect with the everything, and to connect with yourself in ways that maybe you hadn't
Right.
before. So yeah,
Like literally, as I was going to share this part of it, like as I was driving the west, right? So that's sunset, as sunset was happening. And I swear to God, there was this definite point when, as I was driving, I could see what looked like if someone were to say to a graphic artist, draw the hand of God holding the sun in the cloudy sky. This is
yeah,
what that image would look like. It
yeah,
was a definite, very distinct look of a hand
yeah.
holding right below, cupping the sun, the glow of the sun, as it's coming down at its sunset. And then, and it's muted. Luckily, I could look straight at it because it was muted by the clouds, so I could luckily look
Sure.
straight at the sun part. And it was one of those moments where too I'm like, oh, I should take a picture and post it. And then I had this moment where I'm like, well, first of all, I'm driving. I shouldn't take a picture and post it.
Right,
And then
right.
there's like, even to do so, I realized to do so would actually take me away from the moment in the experience of what I was seeing and feeling from the experience. I was like, just let it go.
All
Like, yes,
right,
this would be one of
right.
those amazing moments to share with the internets and people I love on the all the different spaces where I love people. But like, you know what? I just need to feel this one myself.
Yeah, it's like a special moment, and it sort of takes you out of it if you take the and the pictures never do it justice what you're
Oh,
actually seeing
so
in real
true.
life, you know. So yeah, I'm with you. Sometimes
So
I go
true.
on, on my walks and I take pictures for Instagram, but sometimes I'll just leave my phone behind and, I get in the habit of like, pick up my phone, take a picture, pick up my phone, take a picture. But I'm practicing,
I'm
just
so happy to hear you
experiencing the
say that.
sunset, just me and the sunset and God,
Oh, I'm so happy to hear you say that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
funny because I've actually been contemplating doing a post someday, like a live post, even like, hey, like, it'd be really good to practice putting that phone down. Like, I do practice in my own space. Like, if I'm in a chore mode, I notice if I keep that phone in my pocket, I'm still looking at that damn phone as I'm doing chores or as I'm
Mm-hmm.
multitasking. And like, really doing the practice. And I've realized the irony of how funny it is that I wanted to do a post about putting your phone down, and then I just kind of forgot to just let go of doing the post.
I
But
know. I-
just yeah, those moments of just letting yourself, whatever task you're doing, at some points, even just practice little 15-minute moments, an hour-long moment where you literally put the devices, or don't look, put them in a space where you're not in the room, and not enter that space or not even touch them or look at them for a period of time. The feeling you feel is so refreshing after those moments, even if it's like 15 minutes.
yeah. And that's I feel like that's universal. I've experienced that
Right.
myself, but everybody sort of says like, "Man, it feels good to get away from this device for a couple of minutes."
Right.
And then what the heck? And then an hour later or 2 hours later or the next day or whatever, there I'm picking it up again, just going right back to where I was.
Right.
It's
Right.
such a hard thing to break. It's I feel like you have to either go all in and just sort of become a luddite and get rid of all technology, or try to find balance somehow, some way. you know.
I feel and hear that feeling, and I'm pushing against that feeling by looking for the middle ground. I'm going to say, is that
Yeah, because I don't. It's so black and white. I'm so black and white, and I just want to say like
right?
that's it. I'm getting a flip phone, and I am never going on Instagram again. But that's not healthy either, because I do enjoy Instagram occasionally, just not when I'm using it too much. So finding that balance is difficult. But
I know.
part of me is kind of secretly hoping for like these biblical resets, where we just kind of I kind of think it would be a blessing if our power grid went down for a certain period of time, just to sort of give us all a breath, a time to just sort of like, not have to go to those devices all the time.
Right. Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, it wouldn't be ideal to have the power grid go down. Don't get me wrong, but like that that'd be a good way to sort of reset. Just all of us, all of our brains are just so ingrained with the internet nowadays. So I don't know.
Yeah. Right. I got it. I can't help but shame because my mind's jumping to it. Is in the world of comedians, there's a great routine from Aziz Ansari that he did. It's on Netflix, I think. Whatever. I don't know. If, not promoting Netflix, not promoting Aziz Ansari. Just these are just experiences I'm sharing. Right. So
Yeah.
Aziz Ansari has a brilliant routine. Like, it was really soon after the pandemic, and it really has, he caps the whole thing in just a period or exclamation point at the end of his routine with a real conclusion around where he really just dumped the screens and went only to a flip phone. And it's really the way he delivers his experience and choices as to why he did so is a really that's why I love that routine. It's one of my favorite comedy routines.
Yeah, well, I'm curious. I like that a lot as well, but I'm curious if he's still is stuck with it to this day. I'd like to ask
Right.
him about it. I have some follow up questions for him.
Bring them on. Yeah, bring them on. Ask him.
Yeah,
Seriously.
definitely.
And
Well,
I'm, manifesting that for whatever future that is, right? So,
well, make it so. Let's do
all
this thing.
right. Damn right.
I'm
Right.
totally down.
Well, we just put it out there to the universe, so let the universe take care of the rest.
Yeah, exactly. All the details will be handled by the all that is. I'm okay
Yep.
with
All right.
that.
There we go. Right.
Well,
So
I had no real agenda today to anything to talk about, so I feel like you had some topics you wanted to discuss, and so I'm
here's
just sort of like kicking back, and I'll let
yeah,
you.
on that point, on the go with the flow point was funny. Yes, I did have a kind of an agenda. I mean, part of my agenda was just to kind of share with anyone who's listening now or in the future or whatever, that originally when we were originally talking about having a chat, it was all like, yeah, let's have a conversation. And to be honest, like, you're so good at the questions, and I'm a very like, I pause. I'm a pause and think and then ask a question person,
Sure.
and you're just so like on the ball, and I appreciate you very much. You're
Oh,
very on the
well,
ball.
that's
I
very
was
kind
like,
of you. Thank you. Thank you.
I kind of, I'm going to share with everyone. I sent you a message like, dude, I felt like I didn't even, not like I was upset about it, place, but I didn't even get a chance to ask a question practically. So then I had this thought, like, because as I listened to I thought it would be nice to share some of my, because as I listen to your episodes, a lot of times I have these hits of like, I'd like to dive deeper into that. I want to ask a question about this, right? And I was thinking about doing that with you in this space,
Mhm.
and then I had this plan. Speaking of going with the flow, here I am going. I had this plan, but as I was like, when I drive home, 'cause I knew we were going to talk today. So I was like, if when I'm driving home during my 5 6 hour, ended up being like 7.5 by the time I dilly dallied or whatever you call it.
Yeah, sure, sure.
But I was like, I'm going to listen through as many of Matt's podcasts as I can to kind of reactivate some of the questions. And to be real, I was like, why am I going to force myself to do that if I wasn't feeling it at the moment? I was like, that's not what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
I'm going to drive. So I let go of that. And then one of my other plans I had was like, some things I like to do in my life is re-put like mirrors I've stepped back from on purpose. Sometimes I like to re-step forward to those mirrors and in the new lens, new space that I'm experiencing life now. And Christianity's been a huge part of my life. And I was like, I think what I'm going to do when I get home, last night I was thinking this, I'm going to watch Passion of the Christ. I've never watched the movie. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what? I've never watched the movie. It's the weekend for that.
It's
Right.
easy. Yeah, it's
So,
right. It's being Easter Sunday. That's very
and
appropriate.
it's a huge story slash algorithm experience, life experience that so many in our world have lived through, and everyone has their completely different individual experience of that.
Hmm.
But and then I was like, well, but I wanted to kind of look in that mirror that I have my experience of that part of my life by watching that movie last night. But by the time I got home, I was like, I don't have the space. I don't have the time, but I didn't have the energy. I was really just too tired.
Yeah.
So then this morning, because my plan today, because then I had another plan. These are how the brain thinks. The brain's thinking, this is what I'm going to do. This is what's going to happen, which is still helpful, but also what's also helpful is letting it change. And
Yeah, well, I hear you. Yes,
because
right.
my other plan was, since I didn't have the time to re-listen to all the podcasts that I wanted to like pepper you questions about, I was like, I think I'm gonna like spend like an hour before we talk just doing some meditation and just kind of letting it be.
Yeah.
But then I woke up this morning, I was like, well, I really still want to watch Passion. I want to watch Passion. So then I ended up watching that movie
Hmm.
pretty close to the point that we're talking now. So now I'm in that space of the Easter space.
You're in Jesus mode right now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I am, and I was because I'm so completely blown away by like rewatching or re-experiencing these stories from the lens I'm at now compared to the lens I was before.
Yep.
It really
I'm totally
is
just nodding
amazing.
my head here because I've experienced that as well. As like, something doesn't resonate with you a few years ago, and so you kind of shelf it for a minute, or it didn't resonate the way, and then you look at it years later with a different perspective, and you're like, oh, you see things completely differently. You see things that you wouldn't have noticed several years ago. So like, I'm with you. Yeah,
So now I'm curious if you'd be up for chatting with about some of that,
definitely,
some of
definitely.
the experiences that I've kind of gone like my own things that have come to my forefront
Yeah, like what?
emotionally, whatever. So I'd like to start with actually. So yesterday, as I was driving, I listened to a dear friend of mine sent me a session she did, a group, she does group sessions, and she sent me a recording of her group session that was around the subject of sorrow.
Mm,
And it's also a big part of the theme. And also, I also can't help but call out, like in my own life experience, it's so fascinating to me how these algorithms and stories that come to the forefront at different periods of our lifetimes and our experience of this life, like the energy of these stories that like religions celebrate oftentimes also reflect the experience of what's happening in people in their life. And I know so many people that had what you could call major deaths in their life this last week, not physical deaths of people, but major changes, shifts, things that I mean, It's because we're at the celebration point of the story of the of the crucifixion, right? We're at the like, hell yeah, he came back and he was reborn, and
Party
hell
on,
yeah,
Wayne. That's what we're talking about.
right?
Yeah.
That's where we're at today. And there's so many people that there's multiple people in my life that I observed, including myself, that had that kind of same cycle of an experience in their own personal life, and it's so fascinating to observe that.
Yeah.
And as I was listening to this recession that this friend shared with me as I was driving, she said the term sacred space. And I got super emotional. Like
Mm.
I didn't, what was interesting is I didn't get emotional during the session I mean, I had some tears,
Hmm.
but really then I did some voice messages with my friend afterwards to share with her my experience of listening to it. And as I was sharing the story of my experience of listening to it, I broke down in freaking tears around the word sacred space. They're the term sacred space,
Mm.
right? And I was just kind of like, I feel like I've kind of like what part of what I'm personally processing over this last day is I'm feeling a disconnect. Like, what's the energy of the word sacred different than the word energy of the word spiritual? And I love you talk etymology a lot, right?
Yeah.
And like I love that as well. And I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on the difference between the words sacred and spiritual. Like, do you feel a difference there?
Yeah. Well, I've never contemplated it before, but my first response is that sacred is something that there's a deeper meaning to it, like a holiness to it, or um, yeah, it doesn't hold the same weight. I mean, it has more weight to me than just the term spiritual does.
Hmm,
But I
yeah,
couldn't put a definite definition on it, but I just feel like it has more divinity in it, in the word.
yeah.
What?
So fast. So like me, like I'm similar in that sense. Like I really, as I was processing it yesterday, I felt like it was like to me all of a sudden because one of my part of my path on the spiritual awakening thing that we talked a lot last time is,
Hmm.
there's the discernment. There's things that I have a lot of discernment around it, and I was realizing I think there's a certain element, there's an energetic element that feels colder to me about the word spiritual than the word sacred, and I'm like,
Yeah.
not like to me the energy of sacred if like is like a for me yesterday this is my experience of the words it really was like when you're doing the forging of when you're doing metal forging or whatnot like the alchemy of it really opened up the foundation that I was seeking to really understand what I'm looking for via this spiritual awakening for me emotionally. Like I really
Mm.
felt so more connected to this experience of I felt more connected as I opened up to this word sacred and tried to merge them and kind of alchemize them together. Like it's really opened up something in me. I gotta say, it's
Yeah,
it's
that's interesting.
what I'm going for.
Do you why? And I'm curious why you resonated with sacred space. Have you never? Do you have a sacred space? Do you like the idea of a sacred space? Is it like a sacred space within your heart? Why do you think it? Why do you think it resonated so hard with you?
I think because okay, so I've explored. I've gone down part of my explorations as has been exploring learning different modalities and then practicing those modalities. And I've really had a hard time with discernment, like feeling comfortable practicing the modalities in spaces where people typically practice modalities in, especially in like expos and things. And because I just have a hard time with those spaces because there's so much energy, there's so much going on.
Yeah.
And I also feel like so much of what people are going for is this yearning, trying to get clarity on their yearnings. And the energy of a lot of it for me just felt like there's something missing that I couldn't find my footing for, and it's
Mm,
still kind of
yeah.
like that. And yeah, sacred spaces. I create my own sacred spaces all the damn time. I mean, like that's the thing. Like, but I'm really trying to find that a way to share that with others, where others can feel the energy of sacred. And I feel like part of my denial. I love that word denial. After okay, okay. Um, so my denial of stepping back from the mirror included the word denial of my experience of Christianity, big time.
Sure.
But one of the things also definitely remember in my childhood, some of my experience of my Christian faith at the younger years, especially where I felt it, dude. Like I was there, like, and my heart was there, right? Like I felt the love. I felt the real spiritual feeling of connecting with the message of love, especially, and the Jesus love. I felt it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Deeply. And I guess I question, like, I'm wondering, at least from my path, and I question how many, if there's others that this has been part of their path, that reaching the spiritualism part of my path has also included, as part of my healing, stepping back from that mirror. I have maybe been denying the sacred element that really is, I'm using these words the way they're feeling to me, the
Yeah.
sacred element that really I connected with on the heart level when I did connect with it, you know?
Right, right. Yeah, I have had similar experiences. Did you feel like you had a personal relationship with Jesus Christ or God, as they say in many churches? Do you feel like you had
That's
that
a
that connection?
fascinating phrase, personal relationship. I
Mm-hmm.
don't, personal relationship, I'm processing that. Personal relationship, personal relationship. So I guess I don't know that I don't remember that energy of a feeling there. I think I more remember the energy of feeling the love element. I really felt the heart
Yeah.
of what I felt.
Hmm.
And the person, that's a fascinating, that's another interesting word exploration or phrase around personal relationship.
Yeah,
What does
well, in the
that
church
mean?
that we went to, and sort of the community and the family, we all went to the same church, essentially, based when we were growing up, and that was the phrase that was thrown around often. Like, you have a personal relationship with Jesus. Um, like when you pray to Jesus. Jesus understands you. It's like a personal connection to the big man himself. That's sort of how it was phrased. So,
Right.
I I feel like as a part of my sidestepping a little bit into spirituality, I sort of feel like I lost that connection to what I felt I had with Jesus. And it's about, I had to sort of rediscover that in a new way,
Mm,
by, like you said, discovering just sort of the Christ energy behind that relationship that I had in my mind.
mm.
The love energy, and sort of the deeper elements of what was a part of that relationship that I had with Jesus my whole life.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So do you go to church on? I mean, would you go to church on a Sunday for Easter or?
No, I didn't. I didn't. I don't really.
Mhm.
I will say I did go to uh, a basilica on Christmas. Really, I was wanting to. I was drawn to the music. Was what drew me into this whole
No, right
experience.
on.
I felt it was a beautiful experience overall. I loved it. It's just I'm really about the energy of it, and I did love because I wanted to hear. This was the obsession. This is the thought that drove me to put in the series of events that put me there. Is the
Yeah.
I want to hear a choir in the context of either the basilica or a real cathedral, right? Like I want to hear
Yeah. Right.
that, because I am completely in love with choral music.
Yeah. Sure.
I love all music really, but choral music, there's the energy of a large group of human voices singing together in sync, from like in the core of what they're singing is also like there's a spiritual element to that.
Yeah. It holds that
It's so
holiness. That
powerful. The
yeah.
holy, oh, that's a good word, holy.
Yeah. It's
Thank you.
got that holiness to it. That holiness vibe.
It's so powerful. Like
I
it's the
agree.
energy, and like
Yeah.
which can go into the whole energy, the point of like the things you see around this. One of your recent podcasts around the beauty of the buildings, but also
Right.
the functional beauty of those buildings is often talked about how it works with energy,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
So I love returning to those spaces with the intent of really just experiencing the energy that I feel from it,
Right. Right.
and
I hear
actually
you.
looking at the mirror, my mirror of it.
Totally. Do you ever read the Bible for guidance or anything like that?
To be honest, no, not at all.
Yeah.
So
I still do. I still dabble. I still dabble in the Bible if I'm feeling, because I just feel like it's one of the tools in my tool belt. I don't attach
yeah,
to it. I don't consider myself Christian, but like I feel like there is some good stuff in there. There's definitely some good stuff relating to love and love basically, or
right.
if I'm really struggling with faith and trust, or there's just certain topics that I'll feel drawn to go to, or like the story, or I'll just feel like I'm going through something in my life and spirit sort of leads me to read the story of Moses again. So I go through it and I'm like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be learning from this, or just different things pop out. So I just like to use it as one book in my vast library that I draw from. So that's all. That's just why I was curious if
That's
you ever
beautiful.
go
My
into.
issue is I just don't read at all. I'm
I
part of the
don't either. I don't
I'm one of
either.
part of the population that just does not take the time to read a
Nope.
book anymore.
Nope.
I sometimes I go through periods where I beat myself up for that. Like I gotta read this, and there's other times
Me
I just kind of,
too. I've
oh,
never. I always feel like the weirdo in society where people recommend books, and I'm like, look, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I'm not going to read the book you just recommended. I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm not going to read it. So, if I feel led to, I might get an audiobook, but even that is like once a year I'm getting an audiobook. But so when I get my
yeah,
knowledge, I'm getting it from a podcast or YouTube or some sort of audio visual thing, and so I don't
right.
read, and I realize there's so many amazing books out there, and I love knowledge, but I don't have the patience to sit and read a freaking book.
Yeah, I totally get that. Well, can I at this point then call out some reverence and appreciation for honestly the history of humanity and how the spoken word and like sharing stories verbally with each other really has been a huge part of the path of sharing all these experiences that this human experience, right? I mean, it's
Yeah, shout out
so
to our
I
ancestors.
I think I'm giving myself permission to let go of myself the whipping myself over and over for not reading books enough.
Right, because you're just comparing yourself to other people, and I had to just
Right?
say, who freaking cares? Guess what? I don't like to read books. Like, some people don't
Right.
like pizza, some people don't like chocolate ice cream. I don't like to read books. I don't know what to tell you. So I had to get over that in my own life and stop
Right.
feeling like I was less than or an idiot or less educated or any of those things.
Right. But then what I do is when I do watch things or experience things that are really touching me in a place that is resonating or even not resonating, I do like to take notes. I'll go bring out a notebook and key phrases, sentences, things that are said, thoughts that I have that are off of what's said. I jot those all down in a
Me
random,
too. Me
hard
too.
to understand form of notes.
Yeah, I feel like our brains work in a similar way in that regard. Yeah, I'm the
That's
same way.
interesting.
I got to process it and write it down, and then it kind of sticks a little bit better.
Nice. So I
Yeah.
gotta on that note, I'm looking at my notes as I was watching The Passion. And here's a question that I have this is really just a thought
Yeah.
that I'm contemplating. Like, is it, I don't really know this because I guess haven't read the Bible enough, or maybe I haven't. Okay, here we go. Self judgment. So, did Jesus call himself king, or was it all others calling him that? And then when they questioned him on what others were calling him, he just gave them the answer he resonated with enough, which didn't negate what they were asking him enough for him to be relieved of what they were accusing him of. Does that question make sense?
Oh, oh, now I'm having to dig deep into my into my Bible knowledge here. Well, I'm no expert for sure, but I don't believe he ever called himself king. I think that the others just I know for sure that the Jews, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, kind of the leaders in the Jewish culture at that time, thought that he was this false king. They were kind of off put by him, and the Romans. As part of the charge they kind of threw at him was he's trying to be a king, and that's frowned upon in the Roman Empire because kings try to take over the empire or whatever. So if you go around claiming you're a king, they're going to probably kill you.
Right.
But the best of my knowledge, I don't think he ever called himself king. I think that was from his followers or other people.
Or even Messiah.
I was
Like, did
just
he
going to
call him?
say that I think he referred to himself as Messiah, but I can't remember what Messiah means. I think Messiah might mean king.
Hmm.
Huh? Now you got my wheels spinning. I'm not sure, but I don't think he ever claimed that title. I think he was saying, um, I don't think he was ever trying to. be a leader or take charge or any of those things. And I think that his followers just kind of like lifted him to that status, perhaps, you know?
Right. I kind of, and that's, I guess that's the energy I was feeling as I was even watching this movie. And I mean, none of us were there, or maybe we were all there physically. We just don't have the memory of it.
Exactly, exactly.
But it just feels to me like it's an amazing energy of how the container that we live in personally and who we perceive ourselves as is so different than, and even as we try and share who we are and our resonance with other people, how they interpret what we're sharing is always so different than what is being shared. And
Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing, but it's complicated and confusing and honestly frustrating as hell.
yeah. Yeah, a lot of it's just human nature, you know. We see somebody
Right?
who's so wise, or they appear to be so holy, and it's just natural, sort of like lift them up and say, like, "Oh, you're better than us, dude." You know. So I really dug into the. There's. Are you familiar with the Nag Hammadi library? Have you heard of that?
I'm not, no.
So it's just this collection that was discovered in the 1940s in some, you know, Afghanistan cave or something like that. Some goat herder found it. And it's this huge discovery of all of these ancient and sacred texts that were left out of the Bible. So,
Oh, okay. I've
uh,
heard, yeah.
yeah, so it's
It's
that.
called by
So
name. I don't know it, but as you
yeah,
describe
so
it, I've
there's
heard of it.
and within that Nag Hammadi, it was found in Nag Hammadi. That's why it's called that. But all of these different texts and stuff had been passed around by the early Christians, um, you know, for 100 years until you know, the Romans finally got together and said, let's put this all into a book. Let's choose which books we want in the Bible, which books we don't want in the Bible, and this is going to be the final story on this. So they found all of these texts that were left out of the Bible, and they're very interesting for many reasons. But they kind of paint a whole different picture of Jesus and his ministry, which I found very interesting. Jesus was often portrayed as kind of mocking his disciples and followers, saying essentially saying, you guys are kind of idiots. You're sort of missing what I'm talking about here. I'm trying to talk about these deeper level things, and you guys just aren't understanding what I'm laying down here for you guys. And there was this constant frustration that they were misinterpreting everything he was saying. And he's like, you guys, it's all about going within. It has, you know, it's all about love. It's all about the deeper meanings of life. It has nothing to do with the external. And he kept trying to explain this over and over again. And it was just kind of going over their heads. And so that was a very interesting portrayal, because you don't see that in today's, you know, versions of the Bible, you know?
True. And I guess you don't see that, and even in the depictions of the movie. Yeah, yeah. So also, like,
Right.
so I just looked up the word Messiah in the I'm on a etymology type
Oh,
site.
great. Yeah. What is it?
There's a sentence that I'm most drawn to that I'm going to share. It says sense of transferred sense of an expected liberator or savior of a captive people is attested
Oh,
from the
okay, okay.
1660s.
So
That's
Savior.
just, but an expected liberator or savior. But where I most draw into that, that's interesting because you draw into that word savior, but I zone in on the of a captive people.
Oh, sure,
See,
sure, sure.
that's the energy of it that I feel like actually is extremely helpful for all, is the search for freedom. We're all
Yeah,
looking for
which
freedom.
right, right. I think that part of the deeper message that Jesus was trying to tell, at least this is how I interpret it, is that he was trying to give them freedom, not from the Roman government, not from their oppressors, not from their perceived enemies, but I saw it as freeing themselves from their own perceptions, their own
Yeah.
beliefs, their own ingrained programming. That's sort of what I've looked to in my own life when I'm sort of going through these transformations. Is you know, freeing myself, not waiting for some savior to free me, but I think Jesus was trying to give them the tools necessary to free themselves.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Totally, or I feel that. I feel that. I would say, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
um
And this another part that was fascinating to me about this movie was the depiction of Lucifer. And there's a couple things that really touched me. There's a moment in the movie where Judas is, well, after Judas is in front of a group of people and he throws the money back at them saying, I want your effing money. All right. Like
mhm.
I now I know what I did and I hate I don't like what I did. Here's your fucking money back. I don't want it. Basically,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But then right after that scene, Judas is in an alleyway crying, emotionally processing. He's looking in his mirror and he's processing what he just did. And
Right.
then these two children come up to him. They're trying to talk to him, and they're poking at him and trying to ask him questions. And then in this scene, while Judas is crying his eyes out, the faces of these children show like demon type faces. They come in
Oh.
and out. And I looked at that, and to me that resonated to me as, well, shit, that's inner child work. Are you kidding
Oh,
me?
sure,
There's the
sure.
inner child right there. Like Judas is having to freaking face his inner child. Like, and the
Yeah.
reason he did what he did, perhaps in the context of this story, is maybe because of his growing up. Or like none of us can say for someone else why they did what they did, but I'm just speculating, right? That it's very possible in the context of this story, he did what he did because of something that happened in his childhood that he's facing at that moment.
Well, how insightful. I don't think that would have occurred to me. And I like that a lot. Like,
And then it
that's a,
happened again. Like when that message popped up again in a portion of the movie where they're showing the Lucifer type character walking. I forget which part of the movie, but it's during the whipping scene when they're whipping Jesus.
hmm
And he's walking through the crowd with a child in his hands, and like Jesus is getting his ass whipped. Like it's really graphic. Everyone who's every people say they can't watch this movie because it's too graphic. I get
Yeah,
that,
sure. Sure,
but
sure.
to me, that again was another, like, it was putting those two together, like the children with Judas facing his inner child. Even there was a scene where the whole herd of children are chasing Judas through the desert type thing
Yeah.
with their demon faces. And then this scene where Lucifer's walking through the crowd while Jesus is getting whipped. That was an example of there's maybe Jesus is also, that's maybe he's having to face what we call inner child at that moment. It's like shadow work, inner child.
Yeah. How interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I follow.
So I'm just kind of showing my experience of the movie through my lens and sharing that is what I'm doing, I guess, here.
Which you might not have even seen it that way when you watched it a few years ago or whatever. And
Oh,
now
hell
it's just
no.
funny how it just is so when you watch it now, it's like it's so obvious that they're talking about the inner child. you
Right?
know. Yeah, that's super interesting.
Hmm.
Well, now you're kind of making me want to watch the movie again.
And another interesting thing is like the persecution based on public opinion. So like it's really easy, like as we retell, I've heard retellings of the story, Pontius Pilate or it's the Romans, but really there's a scene, I don't know if this is how true are these displays of the story. I don't know, but
Right.
I know how I'm processing it in context of the world I live in here. And the scene where they keep going, but no one wanted to crucify him according to how they show it in this movie. Like no one's, except for, it really turns out to be public opinion.
Yeah.
It's the crowd. It's like, yeah, let's crucify this guy. Let's crucify this guy. And like the leaders of all the different, except for, it seems like there's a specific rabbi who was really wanted to crucify him too.
Jesus
But
is his white whale in this movie. Yeah.
rallying but it really felt like it was like in this context, from what I was watching the story, a rallying of public opinion is what created the situation where he got crucified.
Yeah. See, right. And I feel like that still happens today, of course, when people are trying to maintain their power and control, like those in power within the Jewish community back then. Saw him as a threat to their power and control, and I just feel like that happens today when there's a threat to the establishment's narrative or beliefs. They tend to cancel you or slander you on social media or whatever. And I just think that that's been ingrained in human nature for
Yeah.
perhaps the beginning.
Yeah. So it really feels to me like this. I'm really feeling the energy of the story and how it's really, to me, it feels like it's showing having to walk through the fire, walk through the muck, walk through to reach that freedom that it's part of the path of reaching the freedom
Right.
is
I agree.
feeling the
I
walking
agree.
through the muck, right? Like there's this one scene where I forget which Roman guy, one of those Roman guys, you know,
They're all the
I'm
same. You know how they are.
clearly not a scholar. Anyone that's listening, I'm clearly not a scholar. So where the Roman dude says, I have power to crucify or set you free. So he's presenting the question to Jesus. Do you want me to set you free, or would you like me to crucify you? And I love the response Jesus gives is, you have no power over me except what is given you from above.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's, first of all, it's kind of opens up the as above, so below subject.
Right.
But
Right.
the empowerment and the empowerment of the freedom of others. Yeah, there's no one that has power over us externally in this space. We feel like they do. They, even if they think they do often.
Uh-huh.
But that ultimate gift, I think he's attempting to give, or was attempting to give, is the gift of freedom, of the self-awareness around that, right? That no one has power over any of us. No one has power over us.
Yes, you're making me think here. Yeah, I totally agree. But we're programmed to believe the opposite, though. We're programmed to give our power. I just did a recent podcast about the giving our power away, where I just feel I found all these things in my life where I was giving my power away to the government or to these leaders or this group or whatever. And I found I was doing it a lot, and it was so freeing to just realize, I'm a sovereign being. I'm a child of God. I'm whatever you want to say, and um, yeah, your power is meaningless to me in many ways.
Right, right.
It's freeing. I've been thinking this week actually about people like Jesus, these characters that sort of go against the grain and against the the indoctrination of the day or whatever. And in retrospect, we often look back on these people and we call them heroes or saviors or whatever.
Yeah,
These people who, like Spartacus going up against the government or going up against the Romans or whatever. But I think we have to realize that in real life, it doesn't always work that way. Like when you go against the grain, I'm just speaking from my own personal experience too, is like when you do things that society doesn't think that you should be doing or doing it the right way or the wrong way, you're often persecuted or made fun of or ridiculed or kicked out of your social groups or familial groups. And it's kind of hard to be that person that stands out and is the rebel or the one that stands up to authority, you know?
yeah, right.
Which Jesus definitely fell into that category of just sort of upsetting the establishment. Um, but that happens today. Like, I feel like if Jesus came back today, I feel like the same exact thing would happen. The religious, those that consider themselves religious or Christian would probably denounce him and say you're a false god or you're trying to, who do you think you are? I don't think he would be received in the way that that he should be received, perhaps.
Yeah, right. Here. So I'd love to segue into a little mind bending element to that.
Yeah, yeah.
So one of the things I do like to watch in my life are shows, movies about what we consider cults,
Right. Me
right?
too. Me too. Me too.
And sometimes I process and think about some of these movies where I'm thinking, I feel like the experience of everyone. I very no judgment about all of it, and I know a lot of. Maybe some would say I should be looking at the leader of this cult like they're some horrible evil, and there's horrible things that people who run cults do. Yes, absolutely. But
Sure.
I also feel like they're providing an experience for the people that are there that the people need. They clearly need to experience it because they're there, is part of their path,
Yep.
right? And like
Yep.
one of the cult movies I watched recently is this one called Love Has Won. Um, and this woman was Mother God and was looking for a father god, and she had a father god character, a mother god, and she said she put herself as the reincarnation of Jesus, and she herself like was personally experiencing all of the energy of Jesus in her in this
Right.
movie. The people that are with her are watching her go through this experience, and I think it's fascinating to me to say, who are we to say that that woman who was calling herself the leader of this group, or who was calling herself Mother God and was saying she was Jesus, is not genuinely feeling the emotions of what a lot of actually people in our society feel the feeling of being Jesus would have felt like,
Yes. Yes. Sure.
right? And
Right.
the people, I feel like the people that were drawn to that group Also, many of them were clearly stepping out of some trauma in their life and
Mhm.
maybe were putting themselves in a situation that felt safe to face their trauma in a different space, in
Yeah.
a different way, but it's part of their path too. And I guess it's like some could say this woman was manipulating all these people, and yes, there's definite manipulation going on, and but that's still, to me, there's some gifts in the manipulation for the experience of the people that have chosen what feels like a safer space for them to re-look in that mirror. And then hopefully the next time after that, they look in the mirror, it changes a little more. And then the next time after that, they look in the mirror another different way and it changes a little different more, you know? And it's just,
Hmm.
so it kind of gives me this forgiveness. I guess I'm looking at there's forgiveness for the cult leader of this group from the Love Is One movie that I was watching.
Right.
Where it's okay. You could say she was mentally ill, and via her mental health, she was manipulating a bunch of people, and that's another story. That's another algorithm that definitely is true. It's all true.
Uh-huh.
But that's not the one that I resonate with anymore. It's interesting as I watch these movies.
Right. Well, yeah. I saw that one as well, and it was very interesting. I think I've tried to watch all the cult movies because I find them so interesting.
Yeah.
And I have some opinions about it as well. I guess I don't talk about it very often, but yeah, because I feel like there's a couple of things here. Like any outsider looking into a particular religion is going to view many of their beliefs and rituals as weird. I mean, you can look at any religion and be like, well, that's kind of kooky that you guys believe
Yeah. Right.
that, right? I
No.
don't agree with that at all, but like, okay, to each their own.
No.
So
Right.
there's that. And then also there's definitely cult leaders out there who are manipulating people intentionally and harming people intentionally. And but I think for me, a cult is a group of like-minded people that gather together, and there's often a charismatic leader involved. And beyond that, I'm not into manipulating people or trying to do harm to people or whatever for power or control or money or any of those things. But I feel like as I watch these documentaries about all these different cults, there's this common theme of like there are people that are genuinely getting something out of it. They're like, no, this I believe that this guy has the answers that I need right now, and I'm really getting a lot out of this cult. You can call it a cult if you want to, you can call it bad if you want to, but it's changed my life radically. And then there's other people who are like, these guys are insane. I don't want anything to do with these people anymore. And I think that's just a different experience as well. So I think to condemn all cults because there's some bad actors in the past that have taken advantage of people. I think that there's a lot of community and good that comes out of these quote unquote cults, right? Because oftentimes you find that these people they don't consider themselves in a cult. They're like, well, I get it's weird, and my family doesn't want me hanging out with these weirdos, but like, this is my new family. These are my people who get me, you know.
Yeah. Right. Although there's this one cult that I came across recently that I completely don't understand. It's this cult called A Cult of Misfits. It's really crazy, dude.
I've heard good things. I've heard good
I don't
things.
know. I don't know. I just realized how fitting it is that the word cult came up in our conversation with the name of
Well,
your.
I know. Well, I intentionally did that because I just like to stir the pot a little bit sometimes and use some controversial words just because what is a cult? Why do people say it's bad? What I tell my kids and I talk about often is like everything is a matter of perspective. Darth Vader didn't consider himself the bad guy. Hitler did not consider himself the bad guy. These cult leaders don't consider themselves bad people, So, uh, in general. And so I feel like I like using the word cult as a way of saying, look, I have this little community. I like to talk about weird spiritual things that a lot of people don't like talking about or don't understand or whatever. And so that's why I call it a cult because
Yeah.
it is a cult. I, of course, have no intention of, like manipulating people or taking over or anything. I say it sort of tongue in cheek,
Yeah.
of just you know, people like me who like to talk about this weird spiritual stuff, and that can go for any religion. They're just a group of people talking about weird spiritual stuff that they all kind of agree on and just want to live their life in peace.
Well, as I continue to bounce around, because honestly, before we talked, I was bouncing around the etymology website with different words, exploring. I'm here
Hmm.
still, so on the website on my laptop. So I looked up the word cult. So
Yeah, I've
now,
looked it up too. Go ahead.
yeah, it's beautiful. So like worship, homage, a particular form or system of worship, extended meaning, devoted attention to a particular person or thing, But there's a couple sentences I really like. That supporting sentences. A cult is a term which we value exactness. We can ill do without seeing how completely religion has lost its original signification. That's interesting. That's a quote from Fitzgerald, no, Fitzward Hall,
Hmm.
Modern English from 1873. And one more that's interesting. Cult, an organized group of people, religious or not, with whom you disagree.
Well, that's
So
one thing,
you
I
are,
guess.
according to this sentence, you're starting a group of people that who disagree.
That's probably true. Yes.
So that's
Yeah,
great.
it's like calling it reminds me of like the Christians calling those guys over there the pagans. Like they're the ones that disagree with what we agree with, you know? Like it's just a
Right.
pejorative term to say like, well, that stuff is weird and I don't agree with it, so they're a cult. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, sure.
Oh, how cool is this? This shows a graph on the usage of the word cult, and I don't know where they gather the information, but I'm guessing books and wherever written, magazines, newspapers.
Mm,
In the 1800s, it was like really low. Looks like in the below a million from this
yeah.
data, from this gathered data. But like in 2019, it was up to like frequency of use was up in the above 7 million, according to whatever resources they use to gather the data.
Right, whatever that means, but yeah, I hear you. But yeah, and what is a cult? It depends on, what your definitions of a cult are and who you're talking to, of course. But for me, like any political party can be considered a cult. They're a bunch of like-minded people that have beliefs that may be different than mine. They follow a charismatic leader or leaders, and there's a structure to it, and a function of control over the people within that cult.
Yeah, right.
So I think cult is a broader term, and it's just you call something a cult if you disagree with them, basically.
Right.
you know.
Well, what I'm loving about as I'm contemplating what we're talking about too here, the trend of the word usage here in context of the world we live in right now, and how I do feel like there is a more energy, more active energy around what we do call awakening, and how fascinating it is to me that it does feel like there is this the energy seems to be hotter, has grown more around people looking for their freedom, however they want to look for their freedom, whether it be not getting a shot at the doctor, or whether it be watching memes on the internet that they resonate with. I don't know, right? But
Yes, yes.
it does feel like it's the activation of people really looking for that freedom is there, and I love that energy of the word cult is also the trends of that word seems to be growing in context of that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And nobody wants to be in a cult. They're like, no, 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 no. This isn't a cult because that's embarrassing or you're condemned by society or made fun of or whatever.
Right.
So there's that sort of stigma around it too, is why nobody wants to call it a cult, which is partly why I decided to call the podcast Cult of Misfits, because nobody wants to admit it's a cult. Nobody wants to admit, that it's this bad word.
God, I
Um,
love that you're doing that. Thank you for doing that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love to have these conversations because I'd love to talk to somebody that has a problem with a cult or that has been in a cult that they have had a negative experience with personally.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because I've definitely had some people say like negatively, like, why I don't like that you're calling it a cult, and I just explained what I've explained to you, that like, I don't have any bad intentions. I'm an open book, and it's obvious what I'm doing here. So like, I do it as to prove a point in a way, because you can be a part of the Catholic Church, which it could also be considered a cult. Um, and there's definitely bad actors within the Catholic Church, with molestations or, whatever the Catholic Church is accused of doing over the last several centuries, right? Um, so I just think I would like to see the world go to a place where we can just have acceptance for everybody's beliefs. Like even if we disagree with it, or even if it seems weird or wacky to us, or to just say, you know what, to each their own.
Yeah, yeah. I feel that. I feel that.
Do you think that we're heading that way as a society and just America? I suppose. Do you feel it heading that way of more acceptance and understanding, or or what?
Absolutely not. To be
Oh
honest,
yeah.
it's very
Hmm.
absolute on that. I feel like we're moving in maybe a path that will get us there eventually.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think in the near future we're in the walking through the fire phase. To be honest, what it feels like
Yeah, I kind
the
of think that as
forging,
well.
forging the alchemy of the energies, the activating the energies that need to be alchemized, which creates what people refer to as more, I don't know, chaos or whatnot, is what it feels like
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I do think we're going through a period of chaos, but I think that, like I talk about often, that we go through these cycles, not just in society, but like
Right.
cosmically. So I definitely think we're in a dark period now, or a chaotic period, or whatever you want to call it. But the good news is that there's always the pendulum always swings in the other direction. That there's lightness after the dark, right?
Oh, for sure. Right.
So I think that it's good having conversations like this, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, and so I'm definitely in this little niche area listening to these podcasts and topics, but there is a significant group of people I think that are having these conversations about just loving people despite what their beliefs are, or loving people despite having a disagreement of opinion, or whatever. And I feel like we're in that dark period, but having conversations like this is what's bringing us towards the light, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, I feel that. Amen.
Yeah, like
Amen. I'll say, so it is. So be it, as people would say, I guess.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like these conversations weren't happening even just like 10 years ago. At least I wasn't having these conversations with people about um,
No.
acceptance and
God, no.
um, so I think that all this craziness that's happening in our world today, to some degree, has always been there. But I do feel like it's being ratcheted up a bit, and I do think it's all just a part of the divine process.
Yep. Amen.
Speaking of alchemy, the Hermetic teachings and stuff, they talk about this idea of, well, I think there's 7 stages to spiritual alchemy, and it boiled down, and essentially is like you have to break things down first at their core molecular level, so that they can then be stripped away of their impurities and stripped away of the things that no longer serve them, or stripped away of the darkness, or stripped away of whatever. And then once that is able to happen, then you can bring those forces back together again, and they can coalesce. And then again, a part of the process is that cycle of tearing apart again, purifying, stripping away of what's not needed, what's not working in society or within your own heart, and then putting it back together again. And so I think this is, in many ways, a tearing down process. I feel like we're maybe still in the tearing down process, and you can, the tower falling, or whatever analogy you want to use. But I just feel like we are in this sort of chaotic period, but everything that doesn't serve us is being stripped away. Like war, for example. I think that a lot of people, especially Americans, are starting to ask, like, why are we fighting these endless battles? Why is the military industrial complex like constantly cranking out these wars and battles and conflicts? And so I think that a future society, maybe just in America, or globally, is getting to a place where we're stripping that away. Like, why are we doing this? Why are we trying to take over territories? Why are we trying to control other nations or other people or whatever? So I don't know.
Right. Worship. Yeah. That's, yes. There's, God, there's so many directions could go from that.
I know it's a
But yeah,
huge
I know,
topic. It's so deep, but I
right?
just feel like I often think about our government. And I think about just the past, and I'm interested in the collapse of Rome and the collapse of all of these empires. That there isn't one empire that has ever lasted forever,
Yeah.
So
Well,
um,
this is all feels like to me. It feels like repeat. Like I feel like, I mean, honestly, eagle was one of the most was the iconic animal of the Roman Empire, and eagle is iconic animal for the United States. And there's like similarities. Like, I mean, gladiator arenas, keeping the like entertaining the general public with gladiator battles. Kind of feels similar
yes,
to a lot of versions of entertainment we have in our current world, like
yes,
including like football and sports. No shade on you if you love sports, that's cool. But I
right.
do feel like a lot of it is very similar to the gladiator concept that Romans used to keep the population occupied and entertained.
Yeah, it's a playbook that's been around for thousands of years, and it works very well.
All right. Yeah.
I question our biology and our DNA and our natural human instincts. I feel like perhaps coded into our DNA is this need and this desire to bend the knee, to submit to authority, whether that authority is a divine being, or the authority is the Roman government, or a king or a pharaoh or whatever. um, the ancient texts talk about often how humans were created to be workers or slaves for these divine beings, and so I think that part of that is intertwined in us, that we just follow the rules, we follow the crowd, we do not question things, we do not stand up to authority, and then when somebody along the way does stand up to authority, the rest of the populace tends to tear them down and say, "You're getting too big for your britches. Sit down." Um, so I wonder if part of that is just entwined in our DNA.
Yeah, I hear that.
And I wonder if
Absolutely.
part of these enlightenment periods are maybe coming out of that and realizing that we have our own autonomy and our own free will to live our own lives the way we want to live freely, right? Because it's not you're not living freely if you're under the thumb of some authoritarian or some government or whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I
And
wonder if
freedom
we're
can only be found individually within. That's what it feels
yeah,
like.
exactly. Like
That's where the freedom
if you
is.
view
But through
yourself as
Jesus' message.
yeah. If you view yourself as a slave, then you're a slave. But
Right, right.
part of my own journey the last couple of years, especially, has just been uh, kind of metaphorically giving the middle finger to uh, society and just the way that it's run. And
Yeah,
I don't want to play the game anymore. I view it all as the Matrix. I don't want to play the game anymore. I don't want to. I don't know any other way to say it. I don't want to play the game anymore.
yeah.
And
Hear that.
I just want to do my own thing. I don't want societal standards to be telling, coloring my decisions that I make in my life or whatever. I just want to do whatever I think is best for myself and my family and loved ones,
Yeah,
and go from there. And I kind of feel like there's a large community of people like that who just want to, almost get a plot of land and just sort of live off the land and live their own lives quietly, peacefully, without any intervention.
yeah. I get that. Which I'm a celebrator of anyone who is making steps towards whatever that is for them. I love that.
Yeah. You're seeking that freedom in your own life? Yeah.
Oh, big time. Like a funny story, because one of my beliefs, one of my core life element beliefs is that I haven't always acted on, but I think I'm getting better at. It feels like I'm getting better. Is for things to change, we just have to do it differently. Like I have this aversion to doing things business because I don't understand business. I'm not a business person, but I feel like I'd like to change how business is done. So I'm just going to practice that however it feels right as I do it, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Or things like I actually got questioned pretty hard from a friend who was really wanting to understand after I did your last podcast.
Mm.
So the question was, so are you working to be an influencer? Like, are you trying to make your like develop yourself into being a internet influencer? And I had this big like, what the hell? What do you mean influence? Because because I also started to do some lives on Instagram to kind of put myself in those uncomfortable discomfort places. I haven't
Right.
done that for a couple weeks, but I am going to do it more. I do it when it feels like it's time to do it.
That's the
And
best way to do it.
I
And
haven't.
kudos to you. Let me just
Sorry.
say kudos to you for doing that, because I went through that process of stepping outside of my comfort zone, and it's freaking scary to do live
Right.
videos, and so like good for you. Good for you.
Oh, thank you. But like,
Yeah.
I totally understood this friend's like aversion to that concept because like I even shared a story in this conversation where when I went to a baseball game a couple years ago, an MLB Major League Baseball game, and a couple rows ahead of us, there's this group of five girls, like they must young, like millennial type age or whatever.
Hmm.
And one of the girls was clearly the center of the group. And these other girls were all clearly there, like as her entourage, taking
Yeah.
pictures, videos. She would stand and pose, and you could tell that they're all kind of like plotting the next picture, the next video. And like, but the thing that kept bugging me while I was watching this is they're pretending they're at a baseball game. They're not even at the baseball game.
Right.
They're pretending they're there to show other people that they're doing things that other people would maybe like to watch someone else pretend to do. I couldn't
Yes.
quite get
Yes.
it, right? So to have this conversation where someone was asking me if I was trying to be an influencer, I'm like, that's never been my intention to put myself out here in the digital realms at all. Like
Yeah.
I'm pretty like I definitely I went off Facebook for at least 10 years before I opened up to it again and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And in the spaces I'm in, I notice it's a constant there's that pull, like, well, if you're going to be on here, then if you want people to pay attention, you've got to post things in your story every day, or you've got to at least have a consistent content for them to come to, because they're not going to pay attention to you if you're not consistent. And that pull to be that consistent person that they're going to pay attention to, so they keep seeing what you want to share with them. And it's not, I feel like there are people that get caught in that cycle, and they're not trying, it's not like they're trying to be caught in the cycle, but that's what the program is. But I'm like, fuck the
Yep.
program. If I don't feel like posting for a week, and I maybe just an occasional sunset picture, that's what I'm going to do. You're not going to hear words from me. I'm not going to do videos, just because that's the space I'm in. And if someone unfollows me during that period, fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. Well, that's a
I'm
very
not.
healthy way to look at it, I think.
Yeah. Because it's the codependence, I guess, to kind of come back to my earlier point about, I had hard times as trying to be a practitioner in this healing spaces, is there's this high codependency vibe that's there. And it seems like that's part of the programming too. A lot of times is this seeking for help with people that have a codependency vibe around, like, well, you're going to heal me, so I'm going to attach myself to you, and you're going to be my guide to my for my healing.
Right.
Becomes more of a codependency attachment. And that whole codependency attachment is also the thing that seems to drive, and this is my perspective of it, could
Yeah.
be, I don't know, everyone's perspective is different, but you have to post stories every day, you have to do videos every day, you have to keep the energy going, or else people are going to stop paying attention. Energy.
Mm-hmm.
I that's a I want to change the algorithm. So I'm like, I'm gonna change it. I want to put myself out here, but I'm not going to do it in that way. Period.
Yeah, well, good for you. It's very seductive when you start getting a little
Right.
following and people start liking your content. It's very seductive for the ego, or Hal, as I always say, to
Right.
latch on to that and be like, "Ooh, people do like me when I post things, and it makes me feel good about myself." And then you start
Right.
putting your self worth into how many followers you have and how many people are liking your videos, and then it just I've fallen into that trap, and it's very difficult to get out of it, because it's very difficult to get out of it, right? Because
Right.
it
Right.
feels so good. It feels so good. And that's goes back to cults too. Like, it feels good, I would imagine, to be a cult leader and have all of these people literally worshiping you and hanging on your every word and coming to you for advice, and like that's
Yeah.
very seductive. Like, I get it, you
Well,
know.
like, but it also feels, as it feels good for the followers of that cult leader to
Yeah,
transfer what they're not willing, or not willing, but not ready to process themselves internally yet, onto someone else to do for them or with them, or like to be the wise, like, well, don't worry, I got this for you. It's kind of like, that's been one of my parts about the Jesus algorithm, is he saved us. I'm like, well,
mm-hmm.
I do not resonate with that at all. Like,
Mm.
there's not anyone that can save us for us,
So,
in
so,
my
so, so let me
in my
dive in.
experience.
So you don't think he died for our sins, or you did believe that at some point? You don't now, or what?
I never really did believe that. I never felt that energy around it. I feel
Oh,
like
okay.
I think it's a story around him really dying and putting to rest, healing parts of himself that he needed to heal, and it really fucking hurt to heal. Right? It's a painful thing
Yeah,
to freaking
yeah,
heal. Right? It's not. I mean, even when you learn to feel the feelings of the healing, it's not easy. It still sucks. I mean, like, even like, if I even just like last week, going through some days myself where I'm just like, I don't even know why I feel this way. I have a roof over my head. I have food. I'm not worried about where my food's coming from. I'm very blessed in that way.
yeah,
I'm not like wealthy, but I have a roof over my head, and I can maintain my life with my son, and without, you know,
yeah.
like, yeah. So, but now I just lost my train of thought.
It's all good.
It's gone. It's totally gone.
Well, maybe it'll pop back in a second. I know how that
Where did
goes.
I start? So I guess I just have the gratitude for all that, but where was I starting from? It's funny.
um. Well, I hear you. I lost it as well. I was listening to you,
So
and I
funny.
got lost in what you were saying, and I wasn't paying
It's so
attention.
funny how that goes, but that's, yeah.
I know. I was like, well, that wasn't meant to be, I guess.
Yeah, it wasn't unnecessary
And
for me.
moving on, anyhow.
Right.
Well, have you ever played around with the idea? I did this a couple of years ago for the first time ever, and it was very eye opening to me. Um, the concept that perhaps Jesus never actually existed, that he never existed.
I
Have you,
think
have
it's
you ever
definitely
looked into that?
possible. I think it's. I've never. I'll be honest. I've never looked into it, but I think it's possible.
Yeah, I hadn't either. Back
That's,
in the day, I would have thought like that's blasphemous. How dare you say that? And because growing up in the church, we were always told that there was lots of references to Jesus in the Roman, um, whatever the Romans are writing about. They're talking about Jesus, and so I just took it at face value, like, oh, okay, there's lots of references outside of the Bible of Jesus, and that's that. But a few years ago, as I started this process of like questioning everything and looking into my beliefs and why I believe certain things, it occurred to me like, wait a minute, what if Jesus isn't actually real? So as I started looking into it, I obviously wasn't the first person who have had this thought before. And there's actually quite a bit of compelling evidence that he didn't actually exist, that it's
hmm.
just sort of a story. It turns out there's just one credible ancient Roman reference. Some ancient Roman historian briefly mentions Jesus. So, okay, there is one reference to him outside of the Bible, but outside of that, there's nobody talks about Jesus. And the mainstream scholars will tell you that that's because unless you were like Julius Caesar himself, like people just didn't get written about back then. It was just kind of a different world, and he wasn't making headline news, and so he's lucky to just have one mentioned by this Roman historian. So okay, sure, maybe. But then I started looking into these correlations because oftentimes, the ancient Egyptians have their pantheon of gods, and then the ancient Greeks kind of take the Egyptian gods and sort of change the names around and like, well, you call that guy Ra, but we call our main guy Zeus. So, tomato, tomato, it's basically the same thing here. And so they sort of transfer these attributes of the previous civilization's gods and sort of put a new fresh face on it or fresh name on their deities. It's sort of this tradition that's happened for thousands of years. So then when you start looking into the story of Jesus, you see that there's these ancient stories, like the Egyptians talk about this God that had 12 disciples. There's the story of a God that died again and rose 3 days later. There's tales of a God that walked on water. There's tales of,
Hmm.
all of these very Jesus stories that have been attributed to these other gods thousands of years before Christianity even came into existence. So it's really interesting.
Wow. Well, because I'm remembering your episode. Kind of a direct question for you then.
Yeah,
So your episode around primordial gods. I
yeah,
did. I remember you saying you really. I think you said you resonate more with the idea that there's multiple gods
yeah, I
than
kind
one
of
single
do.
God, and I'm really fascinated by that. So then, do you feel like? Because I really also I feel attached to, or I'm called to the energy of we're all one energy, and I guess I kind of
Yeah,
a lot of times like to go to the energy is also God energy or source energy, or it's all one the same. And I'm fascinated by. I hear what you're saying on the manifestation of gods that's been told to us in stories being multiple different versions, and how fascinating that is. That is it different characteristics of the same God, that just
right.
embodies, or because God, I do believe God embodies all of it, all of it, even the stuff that we consider devil, dark.
Yeah,
That's all
same
God.
too.
So where do you land on that between having multiple gods but also the one source energy?
Well, a lot of it's contradictory too, right? So you got to kind of weed through like what resonates with you and what seems like plausible for me, for myself. So a lot of these ancient civilizations have pantheons of gods. There's, I think, almost always a supreme deity, one that sort of rises above all the other ones. So, if you want to call that being God, okay, sure, sure, sure. But then that talks about the idea that there are lower beings or demigods or whatever, whatever, angels and then fallen angels. So I think about this all the time, honestly, and
You don't have to have
I
an answer. No
no,
pressure
I
to
know,
have an
and I
answer.
don't have an exact answer. But but today, what my current belief is I think there is some sort of a divine being that created this universe. I think that this universe is finite. I think that that outside of our bubble of a universe is the quote unquote real world. I think that we're in some sort of a weird creation. I think that some being created this. That that being has different names across time and civilizations, but I think there's some being that created the known universe, and that there's something outside of this known universe that perhaps we advance to once we leave this material realm.
Mm.
So I'm so I think that there was a divine being, but I think that that divine being is an emanation of something even greater that we can't even comprehend. And so I think that there's these levels, these fractals of the all that is, that are just manifestations of the all that is. Um, so all these gods and divine beings and angels and demons and whatever, I think they're all just emanations of the everything, the incomprehensible.
Yeah.
So I do think that we have a creator or creators, but I think that we were created. All of the ancient stories tell us that we were created from the earth, from the mud, from the clay, or whatever. So I think that this whole universe was created by a divine being that we can't comprehend. I think that there were a being, or the Anunnaki, or a series of beings, that a species of beings that created us in whatever way. I think that we were created from this planet. We're definitely different from everything else on Earth. I was just talking to my kids recently about, like, don't you find it strange that we're the only creatures on the planet that are building buildings and internet, and we have a society and architecture and agriculture, and don't you find that interesting that the octopus aren't building cities? Don't you find it interesting that the dolphins aren't like doing mathematics and stuff? It's like,
Well, speaking of octopus, they're amazing too. Like I mean, are they of this earth, really?
I don't think so.
I mean, are you kidding me? Like every single tentacle has its own
I
like
know, it's
individual
insane.
life that literally its own individual. What do you call it? Like it's not. Is it its own brain? Literally, or
Yeah, I
something?
think that that's a good way to say it. Yeah, yeah,
Every tentacle of an octopus is an
yeah,
individual.
yeah. It's insane. Their intelligence levels, their camouflaging capabilities. It's like, what the heck is that thing? Like, it's really weird.
It's amazing. Yeah.
But also, after millions of years, it hasn't evolved into what we've evolved into. So that's why I think that there's some sort of a divine spark, as the ancients tell us, that there's some sort of a divine spark within us that make us different and special and children of, quote unquote God.
On that same note, I like to exercise my brain in the direction of the book slash movie where mice are the smartest animals on earth, and 42 is the answer to life, is the meaning of life.
Oh
It's
yeah, is that
Hitchhiker's.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the
Yep.
Galaxy?
So I
Yeah,
like, yeah, Hitchhiker's Guide, a brilliant book, but I love
yeah.
the concept that there is actually maybe potentially animals, critters that actually are a lot more connected and a lot smarter than us. We just, since we don't communicate or experience our life in the same space as them, we don't know that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And and then you start thinking about
It could be
how,
the octopus. I'm just saying. It could
no, I
be.
know, I'm with you. Like, it could be a totally a higher intelligent species than us, and they're just
Right?
doing their own thing and ignoring us down here. Like, and then you start thinking about how we've only explored like 10% of the oceans or whatever, so we have really no idea what's down there. Essentially, we've explored more space than we have our oceans, and you hear these stories of just ancient stories, really, of these tribes and stuff, talking about how these divine beings would rise up from the waters every so often, and help them out in certain ways after a
Mhm.
cataclysm or whatever. That there's these beings in the water, like um,
Right.
mermaids and stuff. Like, we hear these myths of mermaids and stuff, and I question, like, well, maybe they were real. Maybe that's just their interpretation of something they can't really understand.
I hear that. And I'm also on your subject of that. I'm fascinated by the characterization a lot of the mythical creatures get, like dragons, giants. Like oftentimes are looked at as evil, or
Uh-huh.
not helpful energies,
Yeah.
or
Well,
also even
serpents,
even
serpents in
mermaids.
general.
Even mermaids have the Medusa siren type energy.
Yes, right, right,
Right.
right.
So where it's this duality is projected onto them as well, and it's really fast because I really connect with dragon energy. I'll be real. Like, first of all, I am a dragon in the astrological, the Asian Chinese astrological calendar.
Oh,
Both,
sure. Okay. Yeah.
both me and my son are both dragons. Isn't that cool? But and
Yeah,
uh,
that is cool.
and also it's the year of the dragon at the same time. So
Yeah, crazy.
dragons, I consider dragons my friend. I wouldn't want to call it evil,
Mm.
and I consider the fire that the dragon breathes actually a cleansing energy, like a real cleansing, really things that don't serve. I feel like the fire of a dragon can really clear that out, like incinerate.
My jaw is dropping because I agree with you, and I've never had that image before. But just a couple of months ago, the universe gave me this image of dragon, 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 and when I see that, I sort of ask like, okay, what are you trying to show me here? And the response was, picture yourself as the dragon with your fire burning everything out of your path that no longer serves you. And then you just
Oh,
said the exact same thing.
I love the synchronicity. So beautiful.
Yeah, me too. It's so crazy that you said that. But yes, I love that imagery. It's powerful. It's not meant to be feared. I think it's great.
Synchronicities are so beautiful.
I know they're crazy. The image of the snake is really interesting because we're sort of programmed, maybe just in Western society with the Catholic Church and stuff, that the serpent is evil and a bad player, especially from the Garden of Eden. Trying to tempt mankind. But then I started looking into the Gnostics, and these are the early Christians around like 100 A.D., and they sort of flipped that on their head, and I found it very interesting that they view the serpent and the snake and the reptile as a good thing, as a bringer of the real truth, the real knowledge from the divine realms. That this they thought that they thought that Yahweh was this evil, demented being that created the material realm in some perverted way. And the snake, according to the Gnostics, came to pass that secret knowledge along to Adam and Eve, the knowledge that Yahweh, God, didn't want them to
Yeah.
have, right?
Yeah.
So it's super
It's so
interesting.
amazing. It's amazing you bring up the snake because one of the first scenes in the movie that I watched that we watched earlier is
Hmm.
there's Lucifer and Jesus are in the woods, and there's a snake that comes out of Lucifer's robe and then slithers its way towards Jesus. And at one point, Jesus stomps on the snake, and that was fascinating to me. And actually, at that moment, I decided I'm gonna look up snakes as I was watching the movie, and
Yep.
I started to go down that bunny hole, and then I realized, wait, I really just want to watch the movie right now. But the part of that path where it brought me when I started to do the snake research is the caduceus.
Yeah.
Hermes' staff has two
Yeah.
snakes and two wings at the top of it, right?
Right.
But as scoop, I wrote these are notes I wrote down. I'm just not gonna say this name right. Esculapius. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, like the rod of Asclepius, I think. Yeah.
Escupulus. That's got to be it.
Yeah.
And it also has a staff. And so Hermes' staff is considered, according to the website I was looking at, messenger to other gods.
Yes.
Was kind of the message of the staff, or part of it was the image or energy that I was
Yeah.
reading
I
about.
think there's several, depending on who you talk to, there's a couple of different
Yeah.
connotations, but that's generally it. Yeah. Yeah.
And then Escupulus is god of healing. And it's fascinating to me the doctors the doctors use, or, our medical system's use
Yes.
of that symbol.
It's used incorrectly almost everywhere. On ambulances, they're using the wrong one. They're using the rod of Asclepius.
Yeah.
They should be using the rod of Asclepius, but they're instead using,
Hermes.
Hermes. Yeah, it's so funny
The
that once I started
caduce
looking, yes,
caduceus. Caduceus for anyone that wants to look it up.
yeah, Caduceus. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, it's so interesting how symbology is used, and often incorrectly, like that in medical stuff. Now that I see it, I pointed that out to other people in real life as I explained to them the differences between the two symbols, and nobody really cares, but everybody I told was like, yeah, okay, so what? And I'm like, well, I found it interesting.
But
They're using their own
I
symbol.
would counter to you that it's not used incorrectly. It's one of those subtle messages of full disclosure that no one understands because the description of the disclosure is not there. It's just the disclosure of the image.
Are you insinuating that the medical industry is there for monetary purposes and commerce? Is that why you're saying it's used correctly?
Well, there would be no reason to insinuate that. That's just a fact. But but
Maybe they know
but
exactly what they're doing, and they're saying, "Yeah, we're here for the money."
I guess my point as far as the images we see and like how I was saying, like you could say that they're using it wrong or it's the misuse of that. But
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like it's a way of asking for permission. Like it's the way that this these algorithms, computer programs, whatever, communicate with us that like, look, here's what's happening. It's just it's up to you to figure out the actual what this actually means to you.
Right. Right. Well, the
You
thing
have to
is
pay
most
attention on a different level to understand a lot of it. Like you have to actually research.
yeah, which most people don't do. Clearly, like most people don't question things. Most people don't look into the origins of the symbologies that in our society, or the origins of words, or any of that stuff.
It's like I feel like the whole, in a lot of ways, the whole Jesus story has been a full disclosure. This is a funny thought I had earlier, where it feels like in some ways, and I don't want to. Everyone's experience of the Jesus story is definitely true to you. Feel it,
Right.
but I had this thought of: is the Jesus story another version of the Simpsons episodes that people thought was like, what the fuck? The Simpsons did this, and now it's happening now. Like, is the Jesus story another version of here's disclosure as to how you can heal? Here's disclosure of how you can find your freedom. It's
Mm.
just a story version of how you've reached that feeling, how you reach that freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. That's why I kind
But
of
we're not going to tell you the like the in ways that you're going to fully understand. Like, it's not going to be all written out for you. You have to actually. It's not written out clearly. You have to actually do your own exploration to understand it.
yes, I think that it's there in plain sight for those with the eyes to see, those that want to see it or are able to see it. Yeah, I definitely think so. All the parables and just the storytelling is all meant to just. There's deeper layers to all of it. I think,
Yeah.
which is why I like dabbling in the Bible every once in a while, because there are those deeper meanings behind those. I think they're just all stories. I just think they're all stories and meant to be used as metaphors for our own life. I don't think they're meant to be taken literally, but that's sort of a controversial stance. I understand, but
Yeah.
I think the whole Bible is just sort of made up. I don't think any of those things were real, but or most of it at least.
I guess I feel like humans did write it, so it's got the flaws of humanity.
Yeah, definitely, and I've had these conversations with family members who consider themselves Christians, and I just um, I no longer try to convince people of things anymore. I'm just like,
Yeah,
they see what they want to see. I see what I see. There's no need to cram it down their throat or anything. But um, yeah, the bottom line is I don't take the Bible literally, and I think that's the
yeah,
line for most Christians is they take it literally, and there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, I just don't take it literally.
yeah. And to be honest, I
Um,
feel the same way about channeling in a lot of the communities I pay attention to, where I feel like what people consider channeling,
yeah,
anything anyone channels is definitely being filtered through the eyes, lenses, experiences of the human being that's presenting that channeling to the people in their life.
one hundred
So,
percent.
as a person listening or paying attention to someone's channeling experience, always know it's a projection of their experience, and then your mirror has to be what you choose the mirror to be. And that's a huge
Yeah,
responsibility. It's fucking huge to like
yeah.
to have to like really be aware of the responsibility of that mirror.
Right, or just to be transparent about it, because I
Yeah.
often get so frustrated when people say, I am channeling Jesus Christ himself or Metatron or Archangel Michael or the
Mm.
Pleiadians or whatever. I'm down for all of that. Like
Yeah.
I'm on board for all of it. I get it. I believe in it. I think that it's a thing, but I think that there isn't a lot of that transparency of saying, "Hey, look, this is just coming through the human form, the filters that you said. Take interpret it as you wish, but this is the message that we're getting. And I think that too many times people latch onto it word for word, um, just like they did with the Bible. They say, like, this was written by God, yes, through men, but it was from God, without taking into account the filter.
Right. Right.
And so I would often grow frustrated having these debates that I used to have with people in my family who are religious, and just that they weren't able to uh, admit that or recognize it or whatever. Which at the end of the day, like, what do I care how they interpret it? I've come to a place now where I'm like, who cares what their beliefs are? But
Yeah.
yeah, there is the human filter, and I definitely do believe in channeling. Do you believe that those? I mean, are you with me? Do you believe that when people are channeling, they're channeling something higher than us, higher consciousness or frequency or whatever?
I'm always cautious of the word higher and lower because I think the latters are illusions. But I think yes,
Ooh, yeah.
there's higher. There's frequencies that we describe as higher, and there's frequencies we describe as lower. But I think those words really limit what they actually are as an experience. But I digress.
Well, no. I
Oh,
want to
oh,
dive into that for a second because I
okay,
think
yeah.
that's very,
Let's.
very, very important. Because this week I've been trying to reprogram just the way that I phrase things, talking about past lives and future
Uh-huh.
reincarnations, knowing that there is no past and future. So why do we keep talking about things like this? Why do we talk about higher dimensions and lower dimensions? So I actually want to expand on that because I think it's
Okay, yeah.
very important that it is all part of the illusion. So I'm glad you said that.
So I actually share like a follow up thought on that is one of my little lives I recorded a couple weeks ago was I was sitting at the piano and playing notes on the piano and
Hmm.
like from one octave up to down and then this one at a time getting closer and closer to the other note that was the same note an octave lower
Sure.
or higher. And one of the points I was making on that is it feels like this is my experience of why I was trying to share that is that it feels like a lot of this message is if it doesn't resonate with you, shut them out of your life, cut them out. Like they're just not if their vibration doesn't match with your vibration, you don't need to be around them.
Yeah.
Like just shut. And I do understand that boundaries are helpful, but I feel like there's an assumption being put out there that if their vibration doesn't quite match your vibration, then they're of a lower vibration in this community. A lot of times, these
You're
spiritual
totally
communities.
right. Yes.
And but if to me, what I noticed as I was playing those notes on the piano is if I play an octave from an octave, there's really no dissonance clearly. And if I play that next low note up, that's where there's like what I don't know. I'm going to throw out a number. There's like say 12 steps of notes in between. You
Okay.
hear dissonance, but it's not that much. And you keep doing that. There's dissonance in each step, but the dissonance isn't really pronounced until you get to the note that's right next to the note of the core note. And so like I feel like if they're in your life and they're creating dissonance, that doesn't mean that they're of a lower vibration. It may mean their resonance, their vibration is extremely close to your vibration, but
Mm.
just a notch off. So to
Yeah.
look at them and say, "Well, you must be low vibration," I'm just gonna cut you. Fuck you. You're low vibration.
Yeah. Well, also there
Really
tends to be judgment
denies
behind
the
that statement too.
experience. I mean, and I'm all about boundaries, but I think maybe the challenge of creating those boundaries is different than. I mean, for me, yes, some situations I have to completely put the walls up and boundary and say it's just I have to have that space. But then there's other spaces where
Right.
you can notice the dissonance where I'm like, well, let's explore what the dissonance is and maybe notch the boundaries a bit. But I also need to look in the mirror of the dissonance and understand it so we can both feel the resonance shift.
Yeah. I like that because that in the spiritual community that is totally a thing, and there is often judgment behind that phrase of, "Oh, they're of a lower vibration." Like it's a little hoity-toity,
Yeah.
and I totally hear you. Again, the Gnostics talk about how everything is a spectrum, and how there is no hot and cold. For example, like what's hot to you is maybe colder to me, and so it's all a matter of perspective, and there is no um, well, it's all a perspective and it's all a
Yeah.
spectrum. So if you start looking at higher vibrations and lower vibrations, that's just a perspective that you're choosing to, higher
Right.
vibration according to who compared to what. Like it's all kind of nebulous when you start breaking it down. And so I feel like all of the vibrations are just all on the spectrum, and there isn't a
Yeah.
higher, there isn't a lower, they're all just vibrations.
Right. It's like I'm imagining sitting in a room at the table with Jesus and saying, "Hey, Jesus, I follow you because you're a higher vibration that I would like to reach." I think I get the vibe I have of Jesus is Jesus would be like, "No, no, bro, no, 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 you got this all wrong."
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a higher vibration than anyone here. Anyone, even like the lepers. I'm not a higher vibration than a leper, than a whore, than a whatever. Right.
Yeah. And he
I'm
did
a
say that sort of thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I apologize for saying the word whore. It's not a word I ever use in my daily life ever.
I am so offended that you use the word whore. How dare you?
I should have said prostitute.
As long as you're not calling me a whore, then I guess
I
we're okay.
don't I don't use that word. It's just one of those words I never use, and I realize,
Yeah,
holy
it's all
shit, I
good.
just used that
I
word.
won't. I won't judge you.
I appreciate you.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, it's super interesting. I'm glad we talked about Jesus. I feel like I don't talk about Jesus as often as I want to, because there's just
yeah.
so much good stuff in there, you know?
And I feel like actually I would like to talk about it. I thank you for talking about it too, because I would actually like to. That's part of my wanting to shift the energy around those feelings. I do know it feels like we're in a generation where so many people do have trauma from their experiences of their religious upbringing
Yeah,
that there's a denial, aka narcissism, that
sure.
prevents us from looking at that anymore. It's like I threw out that word narcissism in there because the connection of that word came to me this week in one of the
Okay,
videos
sure, sure,
that I
sure.
watched, where there's an origin of the word narcissism is the word denial, which is fascinating to me.
The denial of what, though?
Good question. All right.
Oh,
I
interesting.
don't know.
Oh, okay,
I don't. Well, okay. It was
interesting.
in it was in one of Sarah's videos. The Alchemist,
Oh, okay, sure,
the
sure, sure.
narcissist one, and the
Oh,
narcissist video.
I didn't watch that one.
And the Alchemist narcissist video, she brings up the connection between the word narcissist and denial.
Oh,
And
that's interesting. Maybe I'll check that out.
yeah.
I avoided that video because I don't like the word narcissist. I think that people
Mm.
throw that word around anytime they just don't like somebody for their personality, or I feel like that word is just thrown around too
Yeah,
liberally thrown around.
I'm with you on that. I actually
And
avoided that for a while because I have an aversion to that word as well.
yeah, like, are we talking about clinical narcissism? Most people probably don't even know what that is. I honestly wouldn't know what the clinical definition is, but like,
I don't even know
well,
either.
what do you mean when you say that? And I think everybody has a little bit different of a meaning to it. So I don't like that word.
I'm with you. I don't like it either.
Yeah, because I don't know what it means. I don't know what people mean when they say it. Oftentimes, I mean, I get a general idea, of course, but like, um, yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, that's interesting. Well, what else? Did you have anything
Well,
else about Passion of the Christ or Jesus you wanted to dive into?
there-
Have we cleared your list? Did you have a list of questions?
um, I guess I just really did feel the energy. I do want to put out just sort of a. I'd like to put out an appreciation for the end of the Jesus energy and just kind of put out the and ask for anyone that has struggles with that to really allow themselves to, just like any mirror in our life, to like maybe look at it again from a different lens and just see what it brings into your life. If it's something that you've had to step away from due to trauma or due to negative experiences, it's an example for me. It's been a really opening example for me of things that I did healthily need a boundary from, but then after getting my boundaries from it, after doing some healing and then re-looking at it, then there's more healing. There's so many more layers to the healing. So many layers.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically endless. You know, like,
Yes. Right. So I'm just going to put out that, energy
yeah,
that for anyone listening, that, that's a helpful thing in general, even if it's not the Jesus factor, if there's someone else, something else, that's been a helpful part of it.
yeah, I like that because I feel like there are a lot of people who have a sour taste in their mouth from religion, myself included. I had to work through a
Yeah.
lot of that. I also held a lot of judgment for very religious people, specifically in my family, who are very rigid in their beliefs and narrow-minded, in my opinion, of their beliefs. But I've been shown, of course, that not all Christians are the same, or not all spiritual people are the same, or Buddhists, or whatever you want to say. Because I've definitely encountered very open-minded Christians
Mm.
who are very different than certain family members or other
Yeah.
fundamentalist Christians I've interacted with. So, I it helped with the own judgment within my own heart to recognize that, look, not all Christians are the same. They don't all believe the same thing if you just talk to them instead of assuming what their beliefs are, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's been really eye-opening and healthy for me to sort of work through, is letting go of that judgment and realizing, like, they can believe whatever they want. I'm not here to try to convince them that they're being closed-minded or that they're wrong or that there's evidence to the contrary or whatever. And just to say, you know what, you can believe what you believe, and I can believe what I believe, and I can be okay with that.
Amen.
Yeah.
And I would end with, there's one statement he said that I wrote down as he was asked, what the heck are you doing, from one of the criminals next to him.
Hmm.
And he said, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute them. For if you love only those who love you, what reward is there in that? And I love
Beautiful.
that statement. Like, there's, what reward is there if we just stay in our own container where we feel safest?
Yeah, I
But
like that a
also
lot.
being allowed, like having the bravery to also trust that when you step out of that safe space, that there is protection for you. It's there. It's already there. You are
Right.
safe. Like, this
Right.
obsession with always trying to protect ourselves is a survival mechanism. It's a trauma response. It's a, like, so open up to, still allowing for the boundaries where you can be where you feel most centered, but also activating the energies that can open up those boundaries and widen those boundaries into larger spaces by occasionally stepping a toe out there.
Yeah, and by stepping a toe out there, I interpret that as just being more vulnerable,
Yes, amen,
which is
brother.
so difficult, especially when you have all these traumas that are bottled up inside, or childhood shit that's just been bottled down inside. And so, for me at least, it was so difficult, this healing process of just opening up and becoming more vulnerable in so many different ways. So I think that's a big key to it as well.
Amen.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Well,
Yeah.
what do you say? You want to wrap this thing up?
Yeah, we've been talking for a while. I love talking with you, but I'm realizing, wow, it's been almost 2 hours.
I know it went by really quick. It's so
But I love it.
natural and easy to talk to you, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate talking with you too. Thank you. And I appreciate your podcast and all the perspectives you share, the information you gather. I just
Yeah.
appreciate you in general. So thank you for
Oh
being here.
well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Well, let's do it
Yeah.
again. I love these
Yeah.
conversations, of course, and I love
Yeah, I'd love
talking to
to.
you. So let's do it again.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you.
All right. Well, have
Yeah.
a fantastic Easter, and um, you know, praise to
Yeah, you too.
Jesus, I guess.
Amen. Praise Jesus. I love him. I do love Jesus. I'm going to be real.
Yep.
And this, like, hearing people say this, like, I used to give me a tinge in my heart, like, oh, what do you mean you love Jesus? Oh,
Me
that
too.
hurts a little bit. I'm going to
Me
say it.
too.
I love Jesus. I love him.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Team
and it
Jesus.
doesn't,
Go Team Jesus. I'm on
and
it.
I feel like that's brought me to a healing. There's a healing in saying that to me now publicly. Like, I'm publicly able to say, holy shit, I do love that guy, even though it might just be a story. Even though all the things we just talked about,
Yes. Well,
whatever.
that's you.
So,
That's you. That's you being vulnerable. That's you being yourself. That's you, being authentic, and I love it.
amen.
Love it all.
Amen. Well, have a beautiful day, man. Thank you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks. Good talking to
Yeah.
you.
Bye.
All right. Bye, dude.